I love movies. I kind of like Marvel, but not as much as I used to though. But when you put movies and Marvel together, you obviously get Marvel movies. And they can range from being good to maybe even terrible. Now, my favorite Marvel movies are sometimes loved by many or hated by many. I actually really like Thor Ragnarok, but for some reason it is hated by so many people. I know it has issues, but come on, man, it's not that bad. It's the same case for Ant-Man and the Wasp. I like this movie, but so many people hate it. Now, the thing that these movies have in common is that they are hated by a large majority. Or is it a minority? I don't fudging know. My favorite Marvel movie of all time doesn't really have that issue, and that movie is Iron Man 3. In my opinion, this is the best Marvel movie, and I also think it's a great Christmas movie, but I'll talk about that reason later in the video. But every year on Christmas Eve, I will watch this movie and beat Dark Souls 3 plus its DLC. This is just a strange tradition that I've done for a couple of years, and I've only started doing it, what, like, 2022, or is it 2021? I have no idea at this point, but I've done it for a while, alright? So in today's video, I'll be talking about Iron Man 3. Let's go! So after the disaster that was Iron Man 2, director Jon Favreau decided to peace out and direct another movie entirely. Also, he still appears in this movie as Happy Hogan, by the way. So he got this guy named Shane Black to direct Iron Man 3 instead. So this movie is actually based on the extremist storyline for the Iron Man comics, and I have no idea how accurate it is though, so let me do a quick read up on the comic line.
A few moments later.
Okay, so it's kind of similar, but not really. There's a lot of similarities, such as extremist virus itself in the movie, and Aldrich Killian make an appearance in this movie. Well, he's the main villain of the movie, but in the comic he is not. I think he's dead in the comics or something. I don't really remember. So Mr. Killian in the comics created the extremist virus or serum, whatever it is, and it's basically supposed to be a replica of the super soldier serum. In the movie, on the other hand, it was created by Maya Hansen, who also appears in the comics. The comics also had this guy named Malin. He was basically the main antagonist of the comic line. The movie did not have Malin, but instead had this guy named Eric Savins. But yeah, this movie is actually not a bad adaptation of the comic line, surprisingly. It's basically just a different take on the comic. Kind of like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. I actually don't read Spider-Man comics all that much, so I don't know if they're similar in any way. I just kind of pulled that out of nowhere. Okay, so with that out of the way, I guess I should actually talk about the movie itself. It's New Year's Eve in 1999, and Tony Stark is partying and getting drunk. And he meets a scientist named Maya Hansen, and then this guy named Aldrich Killian walks up to him. And this guy is actually supposed to be disabled. I literally did not know that. Wow. Basically, he wants Tony Stark to join AIM, and Tony says he will talk to him on the roof in 5 minutes, but he never arrived. Instead, he got freaky with the scientist. This is where Tony learns about extremists. Meanwhile, Aldrich Killian is alone on the roof contemplating his life choices, and this creates a new villain for Mr. Stank. Now, in present day, Iron Man is creating a bunch of new suits to help deal with his PTSD that spawned from the first Avengers movie. Now, the Mandarin, this is not the actual Mandarin, by the way, threatens the entire USA by launching a cyber attack and sowing some anti-US propaganda on television. Meanwhile, War Machine is getting rebranded to the Iron Patriot. Now, that is some US propaganda. So Don Cheadle or Rhodey tells Tony that there has been some bombings, and these are probably from the Mandarin, aka the fake Mandarin. I love this movie, but I kind of hate the whole fake Mandarin thing. In the comics, the Mandarin was somewhat a prominent threat for Iron Man, and he is his arch nemesis. But for some reason in this movie, they had a fake Mandarin for some reason. I don't know why they did that. It was kind of a baffling decision, to be frank. Aldrich Killian shows up again, and he's trying to take Pepper Potts away from Tony and make her work for him. Whoa, 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 buddy. Don't do that. Cooking people is never good. So Happy Hogan is suspicious of this buzzcut guy, so he ends up following him. Also, the buzzcut guy is Eric Savins, but he's the guy who's basically like Malin from the comics, like I mentioned earlier. Tony's having relationship issues, mostly because Pepper does not like how Tony just works on his suits all the time. Does this woman not know that he's suffering from PTSD or something? Speaking of PTSD, Tony has someone in his sleep, and one of his suits appear in the bedroom, and this causes Pepper to leave. So buzzcut guy is talking to another guy and gives him a briefcase. Happy bumps into suspicious briefcase guy and helps the guy out, and then he sees buzzcut guy again and punches him. And this is when the movie introduces the glowing orange people. And the reason why they glow orange is because they have the extremist virus, if it was not obvious already. Also, I have no idea if it works like this in the comics. Buzzcut guy has the extremist virus, if it wasn't obvious already. And also the briefcase guy is actually a suicide bomber, and he blows up. Well, that's pretty crazy. And yeah, Happy Hogan unfortunately gets blown up and hospitalized. This is the saddest part of the movie, low-key. Tony is mad and retaliates by challenging the fake Mandarin and doxes himself. A very questionable decision. Tony starts investigating Buzzcut Guy, and Maya Hansen arrives. Pepper argues with Tony, and then the house gets blown up by the fake Mandarin and the Buzzcut Guy who works for fake Mandarin. Yeah, what do you think would happen? So Tony's suit sends him to Tennessee, and this is where Tony needed to go to investigate. What's his name? Chad Davis, and his suit shuts down because Jarvis is sleepy. And Tony ends up in some kid's shed. This kid never appears again after this movie. I thought that this kid would at least become Iron Lad or something, but I guess not. Anyway, now we reach a part of the film where I think, in my opinion, is where the movie starts to pick up. And a bunch of crazy stuff happens, such as a fake FBI agent. This is illegal, by the way. That's impersonation. And then there's also a water tower falling down because Buzzcut Guy tries to drown Iron Man, but it doesn't work. Also forgot to mention another thing. So the guy Chad Davis actually blew himself up at one point, and that's why this tribute exists, and that's why the shadows are on the wall. And man, this movie is surprisingly dark. Remember the fake FBI girl from earlier? Yeah, Tony blows her up using gasoline, gas, and a microwave.
You walked right into this one. I've dated hotter chicks than you.
That's kind of brutal, man. And going back to the water tower thing I mentioned earlier, so Buzzcut Guy tries to kill Iron Man by drowning him, just like I said earlier. It does not work. So then he uses the kid as a hostage. But yeah, Tony was armed and dangerous and blasts him with his gauntlet. Buzzcut Guy will return later in Iron Man 3. I wonder if anyone will get this joke. Tony makes his great escape from Tennessee, and the fake Mandarin comes back, hijacks TVs again, and shoots a man in the head on live TV. Remember when Marvel movies actually used to do stuff like this? I remember. Rhodey goes on a mission and gets a call from Tony.
Hello. You ever have a chick straddling you and you look up and suddenly she's glowing from the inside out, kind of a bright orange?
Yeah, I've had that. Who is this?
The Fudge has Rhodey been through? Oh, and then Tony meets Fudging Wade Whipple.
The flames of disaster!
So he borrows Wade's PC. Also, I know his name is not actually Wade Whipple. I know it's Gary, but I just call him that because I think it's funny. So then he logs into Don Cheadle's Google account, and also, meanwhile, Pepper gets kidnapped by Aldrich, and Rhodey also gets kidnapped. Goodness gracious, everyone gets kidnapped in this movie. So here is my favorite part of the movie, aka the third act, and yeah, it gets pretty crazy from here on out. Tony, I'm looking pretty homeless Stark, is gearing up so he can go to Miami, Florida. Yes, the Mandarin is in Miami, Florida for some reason. And Tony raids his mansion, and the Mandarin is an actor. And the real Mandarin is actually a Chinese guy, but that's in the Shang-Chi movie. I don't know why they never had him in Iron Man, though. Somewhat off topic, but I actually really like the Shang-Chi movie, but that is besides the point. Tony gets knocked out and put into the basement. Maya Hansen is here too, and she works for Killian, just like the comics. And yeah, Aldrich Killian is the man behind it all, if it wasn't obvious. He's the actual fake Mandarin. So at this point, you're probably wondering,
It's Moonstone! How is this a Christmas movie?
You know what, Jimmy? That is a good question.
so this movie takes place 2 days before Christmas. Yes, the entire bizarre adventure takes place 2 days before Christmas, and it really doesn't feel like it. A lot of the time, this movie just feels like it takes place over multiple days, but no, it doesn't. Also, Christmas is mentioned multiple times throughout the movie as well. Heck, even the actor Mandarin mentions how he wants to finish this before Christmas. And the entire third act takes place on Christmas Eve. So by definition, this movie is literally a Christmas movie. Amazing. So Mr. Stank tries to convince Maya to not be naughty, but be nice and jolly, and that does not work. So Aldrich arrives, starts yapping and talking about how he contemplated, killing himself, but then he was like, nobody cares about me, so how have I become anonymous? And he became a terrorist. Aldrich Killian is a strange villain. He's not badly written, but he's also not written well either. So he shows Tony how he's trying to give Pepper Potts the extremist virus, and yeah, he does this on purpose because he's fudging petty, and this man is definitely not on the nice list. But Maya threatens him with her own life. Aldrich literally does not care, and fudging suits her. He is 100% not on Santa's nice list. Shame on you.
Shame on you, Roger! Shame on you!
So Rhodey gets kicked out of his own suit, and then Buzzcut Guy steals the suit and begins to hijack the president's plane. So Tony finally gets his suit back, and just like a slug, Rhodey is basically homeless. Well, suitless. There's kind of an inside joke, but you wouldn't get it. So Trevor, who is the actor Mandarin, spills the beans about how the vice president is involved with Aldrich Killian's plan, and also about how something else is happening off coast. And now the final parts of the movie are about to happen, and this is probably my favorite part of the movie. So Aldrich Killian's plan is to use the vice president to gain control over the country, and I'm pretty sure that's his plan. It never really elaborated on it. So he uses Buzzcut Guy to take over the plane and kidnap the president. So Iron Man kills Buzzcut Guy, and then everyone just falls out of the plane. And then by playing a barrel of monkeys, he saves everyone by making them grab each other's hand so then they can land in the water safely. That's my goat right there. Also, did you know that Iron Man was not in the suit the entire time? Yeah, he was never in there. I know they did it for a gag, but what was this about? He literally looked like he was getting hurt. He was never in there. there. Okay, so now here's the end of the movie, the big battle against Killian. So Tony and Rhodey arrive to finally save the day. Now, I will say that I kind of don't really like the final part of the movie. I think it's not as good as some of the other parts of the movie, like the part with the mansion, the airplane. I feel like those parts overall were just much better than this part of the film. But now Tony and Rhodey have to fight a bunch of people with the extremist virus. And of course, this is a fight you can't just win with guns, especially since they have a regeneration factor. So earlier before this, Tony activated protocol to send all of his suits here, and then they finally arrive.
Nice timing.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Give me a suit, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry, they're only coded to me.
What does that mean?
I got you covered.
Good evening, Cub. Can I give you a lift?
Very funny.
Tony goes to find Pepper, but of course the bad guy comes in, Aldrich, I'm on the naughty list, Killian. So he does not want Tony to have Pepper, so he fights Tony. You know what? They did not elaborate why Killian wanted Pepper. Did he have feelings for her? Or did he just want to fudge with Tony? I actually think he just wanted to fudge with Tony, to be honest. So Pepper is dead. Dang, that's crazy, man. So Tony gets mad and fights Killian hand to hand, but yeah, it doesn't work out too well. Anyway, I do like how Tony just keeps switching suits during this battle. I actually have no idea if most of these suits come from the comics, but a lot of them are neat. And I'm a big fan of Igor over here. And I'm gonna be honest, the fight choreography here could be better. Regardless, the fight is pretty good. Also, Don Cheadle saves the president. That's my goat right there.
You look damn good, Mr. President. But I'm gonna need that suit back.
Then he uses Mark 42 to blow up Killian, but Killian survived. But Pepper also survived, and she bonks Killian in the head, but then Jarvis almost kills Pepper due to the whole heat thing. And yeah, he made Jarvis go after anyone with the extremist virus, which is quite reasonable, I guess. But he tears the suit apart and uses a missile and a blaster to kill Killian. So now Pepper and Tony hug it out, and Tony blows up all his suits so he can start anew. The vice president gets arrested, and Tony decides to improve on himself, and everyone has a Merry Christmas, including Happy Hogan. The end. So that was it for Iron Man 3, and I personally find it to be one of my favorite movies of all time, and also one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. Actually, my favorite Christmas movie of all time. And to be honest, I have no idea why. Like, this is just a basic superhero movie, but there's just something about this movie that I just absolutely enjoy, and I have no idea why. But you know what? Maybe I do have an idea. Maybe it's because Tony's writing in this movie is actually pretty good. I feel like he got some character development in this movie. Like, I also like the concept of him getting over his PTSD and getting the shrapnel removed from his chest. Like, that really is some character development here. Rhodey, unfortunately, did not get enough time on screen in this movie, and that sucks. Especially because when he was on screen, he had a lot of really good moments, and some really funny moments too. Now, Maya Hansen and Aldrich Killian, I feel like these two were some of the lamer aspects of the film. I feel like Maya did not have enough time on screen, and when she did, she was just kind of boring. I feel like they could have done way more with her, and she also dies in such a pathetic manner, man. It's like they used that to try and
Whoa, dude. Killian is such a bad dude. He killed a woman in cold blood. You just have to hate him now.
And I really don't like that very much. I prefer more natural writing, you know? There just had to be a better way to show that Aldrich Killian is a bad guy. And speaking of Killian, I feel the same way I did earlier where I mentioned how he felt like he wasn't badly written, but he was also not written well either. Killian could have been a much more interesting villain, but he just comes off as generic. Like, he literally comes off as the generic, my life was ruined by my idol, so I must become evil guy. And I really wish he wasn't like that, man. They could have really made something more interesting for this guy. And Happy Hogan really was not in the movie enough, though. But despite it all, hospital bed or not, he is still the GOAT. So at the end of the day, Iron Man 3 is a good movie and a good Christmas movie. Merry fudging Christmas, I guess. Well, that's about it for me, dog. I'm out of here.